Hi everybody, how are we doing today? Thanks for coming out to see me today. And as Gretchen said, I'm Brian Frank. I'm the general partner of FTW Ventures. We're an investment advisory firm focused on responsible use of science and technology within the food ecosystem. What she didn't tell you about the social thing was I used to work at Twitter. That's how I got the great handle BFrank. And that's why I'm so prolific on Twitter. So I'm going to talk to you about how technology is revolutionizing the food system and changing the way that we should think about food and how we get product to plate. I want to start off by just setting the table for everybody here, which is that food obviously touches every person on the planet, right? We all eat, something we all share. So the market is every person on the planet. So that's why you have so many great companies downstairs supplying great products to feed us better. It's $7.8 trillion is spent worldwide in the food and agricultural system every year. That represents 10% of the world GDP. That's huge. And it's an industry that is directly impacted by what happens in the world these days. So when the climate's changing, your cocoa or banana plant can't pick itself up and walk itself to a new region. We have to figure out better ways to grow these products that we know and love because the areas are becoming inhospitable to them. And we also have resource scarcity. If you're here from California, you know we had a drought. So water is becoming scarce. Arable land's becoming scarce. The nutrients in our land are being depleted at immense rates. And so we've got all these challenges to create better food. And finally, when you look at the result of working in the food system, what do? We feed people, they eat it, and then they have a nutritional response to it, or their body takes it in. We are creating a ton of curable diseases through our current food system. Trillions of dollars spent through our healthcare industry to treat these issues. If you look at the top 10 reasons for early mortality in the world, 7 out of 10 are related to what we do or do not put into our body. That's ridiculous. On the other side, in the business that I come from is venture capital, less than 3% of venture capital goes into this space. See an inequity? 10% of the world GDP, yet less than 3% of venture investments in this space. We need to fix that. And here has been the problem in the food industry for the last 100 years. It's done in a bespoke analog manner. It's like the car industry of the 1900s. Things are put together by hand. They're thought about in what feels or tastes good is a subjective thing. But when you start to apply science and technology, you can increase productivity. You can increase the economics. And this is what happened to the car industry, right? When we got technology, productivity increased. We were able to produce more cars. The economics increased, so cars became cheaper. Now, the other values that science and technology bring to the food ecosystem is one thing that customers very value: sustainability. Where did our food come from? Who touched it? How many hands touched it? Safety goes along with that. Was there a problem within our system that caused an issue that caused our food not to be safe for us anymore? Quality. Is the nutrition in our food at the highest levels? If you know about tomatoes in our world today, tomatoes are bred for transport in the US rather than for nutrition. And so they have tougher skins, they're less nutritious, they have higher water content and less flavor. Wouldn't we like to go back to a place where tomatoes actually had the right nutritional qualities that we needed? And finally, enjoyment, of course. That's what food's all about. So we at FTW, we spend time and money in the food technology space to improve the product that will reach your table. And we work with all these companies here on the right side of the slide that you can see, from big ones like Phil's Coffee here in the Bay Area that now has something like 40 different stores, to small and new ones like Square Roots, which is doing indoor agriculture training center for new farmers to teach them how to use indoor agricultural products to put food on our table. We're focused on the ag and food tech sector, so we don't deal with the guys that produce the products like the ones down here. We deal with the technology that helps them produce their products, and we invest at the very early stages. More broadly, the way that we look at the world is this massive ecosystem from farm to table. So agriculture, how is our product grown? Is it grown on a farm? Is it grown indoors? Is it grown in a lab? What's the manufacturing or hardware support? What's the ingredients? I'll tell you one little secret fact. Sugar is becoming the new tobacco. Every food company is looking, how do we replace sugar? How do we get sweetness without the insulin response, right? How do we feed something that someone will like that's healthier, that doesn't require as much sugar? Infrastructure, I call this the boring section. This is how food goes from the farm or the production facility into your hands. There's so much technology that can be applied within that ecosystem. And finally, obviously, food. Transport, sell, and cook, from retail to the home, and even beyond into places like precision nutrition. How do we feed each individual the right amount of food and the right amount of nutrition for their specific condition? And why are we talking about this today? There are several major challenges within the industry. that are afflicting the food system. One is labor shortage and increased minimum wage here in the United States. With the current policies, we're seeing less people pick in our farms. We're seeing less people that want to go into these production facilities because they're so dangerous and damaging, and they're not getting paid enough. We have poor safety measures. If you look at one instance of a pathogen outbreak, Chipotle, 24 people got sick, no deaths, but it wiped $6 billion off of their market capitalization that they've never been able to recover from. And the big one, food waste. 1/3 of all food is wasted in the world today throughout the ecosystem from home all the way back through the system. I had one very smart investor tell me, he's like, do you think the CEO of Exxon would take all of his ships that are transporting oil across the Atlantic or the Pacific and dump 1/3 of his product overseas? That's what the food industry does every day. And that's just unconscionable. And finally, we know that consumers are losing confidence in the big producers because we see that hitting their market capitalization as well. $18 billion lost by the big food producers since 2009, and they spend very little on R&D. It's all on marketing. So we have to fix that as well. And here are just some of the technologies that are coming to these spaces. So in labor shortage, we're seeing a lot of automation and robotics within the farm, within the production facilities. We're seeing sensors and cloud services that are allowing you to measure, manage, maintain products across the distribution channel. We're seeing artificial intelligence, machine learning. Where does food need to be at what time so that it doesn't become wasted? And we see sustainable and transparent practices as well as new customer experiences that are going to bring consumers back to the table. So this is a broad overview of all of those areas, and highlighted in red are the ones that we feel are very, very hot right now. You're going to see a ton of products downstairs and in the other hall that are plant-based protein products. A very hot category that's taking over from our traditional animal sources of protein. But on the other side, you're also seeing technology fall into animal agriculture. And you have an even more advanced technology in cellular agriculture, which is growing products in labs that use exactly the same tissues or molecules that are in our food, but doing it in a new and novel way. And these are starting to just see the first light of day in terms of being productizable. And then you get into that middle category. As I said, waste management is very hot, logistics and packaging. And we're seeing a lot more in data analytics. And this is kind of underscored by the fact that Whole Foods was just bought by Amazon, a data and analytics company. And they're going to apply the same thing that they've done to retail products to the food industry to figure out what you need, when you need it, where you need it. And on the far right, things like restaurant and retail tech, things that are producing technology that will help our restaurants operate more efficiently and create better economics and better outcomes, and finally, personalized nutrition. So real quickly, I'm going to go through a couple of these categories that we think are very hot and what's going on in this space. One is the new farm. So this is precision agriculture and indoor farming that will put product on table quicker and easier than growing them in these massive agricultural concerns in places like Salinas. So for example, Gotham Greens, a small indoor farm, has a facility above the Whole Foods in Gowanus, New York, and literally they walk the product downstairs and sell it right there. Local Roots is an indoor farming container farm at a food distribution center. So when Tender Greens or Mendocino Farm comes to pick up their fresh greens, they can buy it from a farm that was trucked in hundreds of miles away, or they can buy it from something that was grown 5 feet away, with high quality precision technology that creates more growing cycles and better results. And we're starting to see more and more. Plenty One on there just received $200 million in funding from SoftBank, one of the largest venture firms in the world. So we're starting to see new products growing more with less. Supply chain. We all want a transparent supply chain where we can trace all the way back to the cow or to the field or to the plot of land where a product was grown and see how many hands touched it. And there are companies like Ripe.io, which is applying blockchain, a distributed database that allows companies to introspect where their product came from. They're working on tomatoes right now. So you can go back to a plot in a field where that tomato was grown. And so if there's ever a pathogen outbreak, they can trace that immediately back so that we will be able to get harmful food out of our system quicker. And we have companies like Spoiler Alert, which is doing software for major food distributors that redirects excess food into places that need it, primarily donation channels. So places like soup kitchens and homeless shelters where they get tax credit to donate that food rather than wasting it. And in future, they will have marketplaces that will be able to sell that product at a discount day of. And so you can imagine they're operating out of Boston. They have hamburger buns from one of the largest food distributors. There's probably 30 to 40 hamburger places that can use buns day of and would take them at a discount to make their economics work better. This is one of the largest areas we see a lot of growth in from a venture perspective, which is personalized nutrition. We all eat differently. Everybody in this room needs different nutrition on a daily basis. And if you're infirm or have a disease, it's even more compounded. You need certain types of nutrition to help stave off your illnesses or to recover from those diseases. So we're seeing companies like Habit, which has developed a DNA and metabolism test that will tell you what things you should be eating on a daily basis, and will actually, if you live here in the Bay Area, send you meals to your home that fit your nutritional profile. But we still see it as the dark continent. We don't understand enough about our DNA, our metabolism, and the microbiome, which are the bugs that live in our gut that digest these things. We don't know enough yet to be completely prescriptive fully. So this is an emerging category that everybody should watch out for. Last mile delivery. This one's fun. We will start to have delivery robots showing up at our door, whether they be airborne, whether they be landborne. There's going to be a number of ways that companies will get food to our homes. And you just see a list of the companies out there, and you see one very big one, which is Amazon. So if you can imagine, Amazon has been testing a fleet of airborne drones that will deliver products to your home. But there are ones like the small one I show here, which is the Starship Robotics little drone that delivers pizzas in Redwood City right now. Very cute little drones. They're active in almost all major metros right now, and they're figuring out the rules and regulations for these things. Here in San Francisco, they've been a little aggressive against them. They kind of don't want them on our streets. But honestly, I don't think that they're going to change that fact that these things are coming. And finally, I want to talk about the consumer experience, because this is what every food company needs to understand is food is not just sold through retail anymore. Direct to consumer is a real reality, and it's changing the game for food startups. Food startups that do direct to consumer sales maintain more of their revenue than selling it through the retail channel. So we're starting to see a revolution here, and things like Facebook will enable this. And here you see Mark Zuckerberg showing how his new technology on Facebook will allow you to point at a product and get information on that product. So if you're a food production company right now, you need to take advantage of these technologies to stay ahead of the game, provide your consumers with more information, and engage with them one-on-one. So this is just what I want to leave you with. The entire system is being revolutionized from farm to table. Everything is up for grabs right now, and technology is changing the game. Many sectors have already experienced rapid growth. As I said, plant-based products are going to abound here. I couldn't walk 2 feet without seeing another plant-based product here, and I think that that's a massive revolution. There's emerging companies and growing companies will take advantage of this to increase their productivity, improve their supply chain, and ultimately, what we all want to do is improve the customer experience. And finally, this will ultimately make food better and more accessible to every person on the planet, and hopefully feed them better so we don't have the same health outcomes. Really appreciate everybody's time today. I look forward to your questions, so thank you so much.